Hey, I'm back. This is Chandler for Melda Production, and today I'm going to show you how to get rid of noise in your guitar recordings. Now, of course, this can't get rid of all noise, but what I'm specifically talking about is like electromagnetic interference, those types of buzzes and hums that are oftentimes in guitar signals. Now, you could use this for like amp recordings, and it'll work, but it might alter the sound a little bit. However, if we do things directly, you can probably get almost 100% clean signal out of it, and you won't hear too many like artifacts or EQ changes, etc. So that's what we're going to do. First things first, let's listen to this example. I have M turbo amp going into M cabinet, and here's my direct recording, and listen for the noise. If you hear the beginning, you hear lots of noise, and then at the end, you hear the note starts to fade out and you hear the noise come back up. Now, if we just use a normal noise gate, we can get rid of the noise at the beginning. That's no problem. But at the end, when the note fades out and the noise starts to come in, we can't get rid of that without completely cutting off the note, unless we use MSpectraldynamics, which is what we're going to do. So I'll show you how to do that. There's two important things, but first, we're going to take MSpectraldynamic and put it on our track. The first thing that's very important is make sure MSpectraldynamic is the first thing in your chain. If it comes after the amp sim, it will be less effective and we'll have to do more work. It might alter the sound more. If we put it first, you should get a cleaner guitar recording and you should hear little to no difference between the clean version versus the original version. The second thing that's very important is make sure you use this after you record your guitar tracks. MSpectraldynamics will will create latency. So if you don't want to play with like 10 millisecond delay or something, don't put this on there while you're playing. Record all your tracks and then afterwards put this on there and you can use it there. If it's using too much CPU, you can put it on each track and then just bounce it down so that way you have completely clean recordings. But it comes with a device here, and this will actually help you clean it up. It's easy, but I'll show you a manual way too. If you just want the quick and easy way, do it like this. Click repeat, find a section of your recording where there's just noise and there's no playing or anything, and loop it. So it'll sound like this. Just hum. Now turn this on and click capture and then play that section again. Okay, now turn off the loop and we'll play it and it should have a fairly clean recording. It sounds pretty good. I heard like a few things in there that I didn't like, a few artifacts, but we're going to do it ourselves and hopefully we'll be able to get rid of those artifacts. So we're going to go to default and we're just going to do things manually. So we have everything out here. There's two different ways we can do this. One way we can use this gate here. We have the gate set like this, and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to capture our noise profile. So we'll just play this and then hit capture. There we go. And now we'll play it again. Hopefully we won't hear any noise. And to do this, we can adjust the threshold here. Also, you might want to adjust the attack and release. That's kind of to taste though. This. So we'll adjust the threshold and I'll let you hear what happens. It actually sounds pretty good. If you move it up higher, you might get some artifacts that might cut off too quickly or may not catch some small details. So what I recommend is when you're doing this and you're setting the threshold, use that loop and then move it all the way down and then move it up until you can barely hear any noise. That seems good. Another thing is sometimes you don't want complete silence. You don't want it to completely cut. You can use this bottom here to increase it from going to silence to, oh, you hear a little bit of noise like this. Sometimes this is better because it might preserve some of those more subtle details, and sometimes it'll sound more natural. Many times, if you're doing lots of instruments and things, a small amount of noise will kind of get lost in the background, so it won't matter. And it might be better instead of getting like artifacts, or if you want to keep some of those like subtle details, maybe like finger noises, etc. You can do it that way. A second way to do this is by using processor 1. We'll do the exact same thing. I'll show you the capture again, although I think it should already be captured. You don't have to do this. You're probably thinking like, oh, it's still noisy. What's going on? This processor is just used for compression. But you're thinking like, okay, how are you going to use that for noise reduction? This little down arrow will turn this into an expander. So now it will be able to reduce that noise. So what we're going to do is just down click here. All I did was turn up the ratio. You could also turn up the threshold if you want. Now we'll play the whole thing so you can hear it. And that actually sounded pretty good. When I used the device, I heard a little bit of like artifacts, and one thing that will help that is changing the naturality and moving that up. I think for the first example, the device is at 0, but here's at 5%. So sometimes if you change that, you can do lots of things with it. Something I should also say is the capture. When you saw me do this, you're seeing like, hey, I don't see anything in the capture. The reason that's happening is because of the fact that the noise is so low in level you can't really see it. If I boosted like the temporary gain and do this, you can kind of see this bump. Normally with, let's say, a vocal recording, you could see a huge spectrum here, but because the noise is so low, you're not going to see it. But that doesn't mean it's not working. It is working, so don't worry about that. Let me capture that one more time. Just for illustrative purposes. Now, the ultimate test is this. What you want to do to make sure you're not destroying your audio recordings is first go in here, loop the section where you're playing, and what you want to do is bypass it and then turn it on and off and see if you can hear an audible difference between it being on and off, like this. Now for me, I'm not hearing a big difference in those tones, which means I did a good job. But at the beginning, there's no noise, and as it fades out, I hear the high end with all that hiss being filtered out. So for me, this is sounding good. It did what I wanted it to do, and I can use this on my tracks. From here, what I would normally do is just save this as a preset. So I think I used the maybe bridge pickup with humbuckers on maybe my 7-string guitar. So I'll just save this as bridge 7-string humbuckers. That way, for future projects, I don't have to do all of this again. I have one preset that works and I can just slap this on there. Another thing, if you're worried about like, I'm going to use this on a bunch of tracks, this might use a lot of CPU, I recommend putting this on and just rendering it. You can take the guitar plugins and things off, just render it as it is. You'll have clean guitar tracks, and then you can just mix them as normal, and you don't have to worry about the CPU load. Although, to be honest, with modern CPUs, it's probably not a problem. So now you'll have clean tracks, and like I said, you can customize this however you want. If you want a little bit of noise, you can add that. You can even use processor 1 and the gate together for even more control. Hopefully, I answered all your questions. If you have any other ones, be sure to leave those below. Give me a thumbs up and check out all the other plugins at meldaproduction.com. Until next time, see you.